these are some of the topics, just two of the topics that we've been able to pull from the series, because I know this is really interesting to a lot of people. These are two of the more surprising, at least surprising to me, topics that we've been able to pull based on eco-criticism. The first one relating to non-human magical creatures, so centaurs, giants, house elves, the owls, and cats. Using material theory, which says that humans need to learn to listen from other living beings in order to form a sense of respect, we've been able to draw certain conclusions from the way that humans interact with the house elves, Dobby and Creature, to decide or conclude that we, as humans, need to have that respect for others, or we have a lot of areas for error and miscommunication and misinformation. Grop, who is Hagrid's brother, he's a giant, and he is a very interesting character going through this lens. Many of my students have been able to pull out small details, such as the way that Grop reacts to Harry and his friends compared to how he reacts to Hagrid, and how when we feel closer to nature, we respect nature and we don't fear it, but there's some aspects of fear that are necessary. So that's just been an overall interesting idea to follow. The other one is the idea of imperialism and green imperialism. Green imperialism is basically imperialism, but with an environmental twist. So going through cultural ecology or environmental justice, different kind of socially based theories, kind of pulling on that material theory as well, there are other forms of knowledge or knowing outside of Western science that we need to listen to. So this is often paralleled with the European domination or forced removal of indigenous tribal nations back in the colonial era, but also really relevant now in this, in a kind of resurged indigenous reclaiming of their identity and their spaces. But this parallels the Harry Potter series when we look at centaurs with the stars. The humans often ignore centaurs' knowledge of astrology and how they just know certain things by their relationship with the stars and the planets. So this class so far has benefited everyone involved. It's a small class. There are 7 students, myself, and my faculty mentor. My students have not only expanded their critical thinking skills, and they've demonstrated this through the discussions, through the writings. They've come up with some really interesting connections that I didn't think of, and I have been on this kind of environmental track with the Harry Potter series for a year now. But there's also something, and I think it's that Harry Potter is just a fun series to read. A lot of people in the class grew up reading the series, or they have fond memories of watching the movies. But this seminar has allowed students a depoliticized way of talking about the environment, because the environment is heavily politicized these days because of bipartisan politics in the United States. But all of that is removed when you have this fantasy world like in Harry Potter. There's really no two-sided politics. It doesn't resemble our world really at all. So you remove that conflict that we see in society today when talking about the environment, and you talk about the environment in a way that's a lot more accessible and a lot more fun. And I've seen my students, at least in my perspective, have a lot of fun so far in the class, because they've not only expressed to me that they enjoy the class, but they're also engaged in class. They're not on their phones. They're taking notes. They are really putting in a full faith effort for all of their assignments. They always come prepared, and I think that's a really great sign that they're learning. From my perspective, that's a sign that they're having fun, they're developing, and then they're applying those skills elsewhere. The benefits for the Honors College, there's several different ones. The first one being that BGSU has never had a student for their honors project propose and teach a class like this. So because of the administrative things with coding classes, I'm not actually listed as the teacher because I'm an undergraduate student and that's not allowed. I'm listed as a co-teacher behind my professor's name, but I'm really coded as a TA, a teacher's assistant. But I lead the class. I plan the class. I lead the discussion. My faculty mentor acts more like a student in class than a teacher because he participates in discussion just as everyone else is. And that's really unique. And I really hope that this is a way for me to show other students the endless possibilities of their honors project. So they don't have to stick with a traditional research paper. They can expand. It's limitless, and they have so many resources at their fingertips in order to make their project what they really want it to be. This is also a way for my faculty advisor to stretch his academic creativity. He's taught a few classes on Harry Potter in the past. He is kind of known at BGSU for being a really fun professor, and this class, the environmental studies being outside of his normal academic area, but Harry Potter being within that, he's been able to merge those two and support me through it all. This is also a really unique class because Harry Potter and the environment, a really unique subject. Not a lot of people think of that, understandably, because it's a very I've been told it's kind of out there in a way. But it's that unique experience being offered to the students. And then the power of peer education and peer learning. Myself being an undergraduate student, several of my students also being seniors, that we share that educational experience, the student experience. We have that in common. And there's a different type of relationship that I formed with my students because we are peers. So just as you have an undergraduate peer facilitator in a large lecture, or you have small group projects, that peers working together and peers learning together is really powerful, rather than someone 20 years older than the students up there lecturing. We've been able to have really open dialogues, and students have connected the class to their personal life, and I think that has a special aspect or special power to it, particularly in that I don't know all the answers, and I think that's made me humble and humbles my students as well, and hopefully empowers them to go seek the answers on their own time, because they know we're all learning together. Finally, I have benefited incredibly from this project. I have found a new passion area, a new academic area. I have always loved Harry Potter. I grew up reading the series with my mom and watching the films with my family, but I had never connected it to the environment. But these are two things that I love, and being able to connect them and share that with people in a way that's more than just a 20-page paper has been really motivating for me. And because most of my coursework is in policy and social sciences, it's been really cool to explore the literary aspects of academia, something that I have never done before. And then, of course, my own critical thinking skills are being worked endlessly. If it's creating discussion questions for class or finding a way to move the class online, I don't think anything has expanded my critical thinking skills as much as teaching and developing this class has. When you're teaching, when you're up there talking in front of a group of students, you have to be flexible and you have to be adaptable. And I feel like I've always been a flexible and adaptive person, but not at the level that I have to be for this class. So being able to think on the fly, make changes quickly because something very unexpected happens, or just go with the flow because that's where the discussion is leading. Those have been skills that I've refined rather, and I will take with me forever. And then professional development in this more leadership-based role in a classroom, in my connections with faculty across campus. There's no better way for me to develop these professional skills, professionalism, than to teach this class. And I don't know if I'm going to go on to eventually teach a college class or not, but I know that everything that I've learned from this experience is going to help me in my life. None of this class would have been possible without the help of a plethora of BGSU people, community members. Beyond the students in my class, my primary advisor for my honors project is Dr. Health Diehl. Dr. Emil Karchalou of the history department has also been influential. He is my secondary advisor. Dr. Rachel Ricard Rebellino of the English department, she's been my young adult and children's literary specialist and has helped me immerse myself in that very new area for me. Chad Van Buskirk, also of the English department, he has been very influential in my thinking about environmental humanities and environmental writings, and that was foundational to me creating this class. Dr. Simon Morgan Russell, the Dean of the Honors College, supported me through this whole process and helped me to fill out actually the original proposal for teaching a class, was my cheerleader all the way through, supporting me as a student wanting to do this new experience. Very similar, Dr. Casey Snyder, who is the director of the Center for Women and Gender Equity and my former scholarship advisor. She has been a great support person for me through this experience. And then I've received a lot of funding for this project in terms of traveling and presenting at conferences, research money for books and experiences. So the BGSU Honors College donors and the BGSU Center for Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. I could not have done this experience without them. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to your comments later.